Be the map. Black Dragons starting off on the attack. MIBR starting off here on the defense. Maybe, just maybe, a little bit of opportunity there for Black Dragons to flex some of that aggression. I'll be honest, Gio, for all that is on the line with this one, I'm still expecting to see a very aggressive Black Dragons here today.
I'm just worried about Black Dragons. I think that they, actually coming into today, and it was something that we discussed last night after the broadcast, was we were saying, who do you think is going to win? Like, this is a big game, and after MIBR's results yesterday, it's less clear. And I said, no, I think Black Dragons probably still likely have this. But seeing the way the map veto has gone and how much that works against Black Dragons, I just don't know if I still think that anymore. And I think this is probably one of the harder games to call as well. But this has just really thrown a spanner in the works for me. And I'm along for the ride just as much as any of you watching this are, because, yeah, I mean, I just don't know.
It's a tough one to call. There's a lot on the line here. You've got to expect that Black Dragons have... Obviously, they've consciously chosen to come to Chalet, or they've consciously left it in, is maybe a better way of phrasing things. So there's going to be some sort of idea of what they want to try and achieve here. So, I don't know, it's that age-old. A team that doesn't really play a map very often starts to play a map, and you think, what are we expecting here? It's like the Liquid and Villa sort of saga that we saw unfolding yesterday.
Which, to be fair, they did win.
Well, they did.
But it's Team Liquid.
It is Liquid. So, you sort of balance those things out against one another, and you maybe come to the middle ground of still we don't know what to expect with Black Dragons on this map. Is it a case that they permanently ban it because they just dislike it and they want to try and save it for a special occasion? They're going to have scrimmed it. It's a new map. They're a new team. They're going to have new ideas, very similarly to the way that W7M try and approach this map, in that they've got nice ideas and nice holds. They're just not quite as refined as maybe they need to be just yet. Maybe we see similar here from Black Dragons. As far as MIBR, we kind of know what to expect, right, with them on this map.
Yeah. That's, well, I mean, yeah, I guess we'll find out. Interestingly as well, I just want to point out, because I would imagine that there are a number of people who aren't aware of this. The team that Black Dragons lost Chalet to in the Copa do Brazil, which was Team Supernova, was actually the previous home of Perez, who came onto their team after the Copa do Brazil. He impressed them enough from those games. So, I suppose, in part, you can argue that this was the team that won it because they have one of the players from that team. But I just think it's an interesting little thing anyway, because the Black Dragons that played in the Copa do Brazil was still the Black Dragons with Yuna and Hugzord, who did consequently get dropped.
Maybe a little bit of inside information? Question mark? Quite possibly there that Perez is going to have a bit of an idea.
Perez has come in like, hey guys, this is how we play Chalet.
Don't worry, I got this. Pick Chalet will win, I promise. Guys, I've got a strat. These are all things that are said before unfortunate events, but we do see a nade kill coming in onto Fowls. Live is actually getting the kit down. He will be yokai'd off briefly. Now it's one of those tough situations where you've kind of gone for a bit of a rough plant. You've really overextended here, and you've got to try and make it work. Redux, he moves through. He's able to take Live down and drop the diffuser onto the floor. Still, Philippox is left as the sole survivor. He's going to be underneath on the alibi. He's got a shred of health. Not even going to get through the first engagement. Resets there, taking him on out. Black Dragons, some nice angles being watched there. They're going to take a nice early round.
All right, well, that's a good start. One thing that I do want to point out as well is that I love that the nade that got lined up got a kill, great, but it still missed the shield that was right next to where it landed. But sure, I mean, if you can kill the person without removing the utility, great. That's fantastic. Really good swift control of Piano. Even though the plant wasn't actually put down, ultimately in the end, didn't really matter. But the room that they required in order to do it was there. The only thing that was stopping them was, in fact, that yokai drone. But they aggressed so much onto the remaining players of MIBR that control of the yokai drone wasn't even possible to be taken after that. And I mean, Black Dragons ultimately didn't even need to bother trying to plant the diffuser because they got everything done that they needed to do that did not require that or did not include that. So it was a nice swift round from them. And MIBR are going to be moving down into bar rather than having a second go at master. I don't see anything particularly wild about what they've decided to bring. We do oftentimes see Frost get brought. We spoke about it yesterday, how Frost is very popular, particularly on this site. It was something that we saw earlier on in the first game that we had today. It was W7M who played a lot of Frost out on the mezzanine when defending this site in particular. Interestingly, they decided to do it without a shield. So I hope that wherever Falls stations himself, which looks like it's going to be in the bar backstore, doubt he'll need a shield there. So I just hope his shield's somewhere useful.
Let's see where the entry is going to be decided here. Black Dragons really didn't waste any time in getting themselves in and attempting to plant the diffuser there. They were already sort of in the site at around the minute 30 mark, which is exceptionally early. Especially with the way that a lot of the games have been going so far today and inside of this stage as a whole. But ultimately, Black Dragons are one of those aggressive sides that really will bring the heat and start to apply it quite early. And if they get the feeling and the impression that that's going to be something that stresses and pressures MIBR here, then I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a trend that continues. Resets, he moves through, taking down Felipox. Almost entire control of Library. There are still going to be players on the periphery here for MIBR, but they're not really in too much of a position to do much retaking. Reduct find some success on the site. Ion himself taken out there on the Zephyr. An E1D to root everybody in place, but Black Dragons are well positioned here to start advancing through.
4 versus 4, so there's no discernible advantage to either side, but Black Dragons were pretty quick to overwhelm MIBR in the last round. There's the removal of the mirror window simply by shooting the canister on it. And Falls, again, this is a kind of a topic we spoke about earlier, Ollie, because half the backstore wall is, of course, soft, and that's forced him into a corner where he has to try and hold the hatch from the narrowest margin. Once again, Live made an attempt at the plant that got off it pretty quickly. The Toxic Babe canisters filling the room. Here's the shotgun to come out, but Reduct actually misses. He's going to have to back off as Perez gets downed.
3 versus 2 now. There's still enough time remaining here for Black Dragons to start to try and get the plant down, and with only Reduct alive, it's going to be increasingly more difficult. The flank being hauled there. Resets and Patoxy finding the final 2. Live was confirming that plant as well. Another well-executed round there from Black Dragons. Getting that advantage nice and early on. And again, some strange site setup from MIBR. It was a criticism we made inside of the first game we watched here today. The Furia W7M game, where there was times where that stock wall wasn't reinforced. I want to know, Gio, where the reinforcement is that one is sort of taking up, or the real reason for leaving that one soft, because I'm struggling to see a significant advantage.
I mean, obviously the answer is because you want to have access to being able to like wall bang and whatnot, stuff like that. But I haven't seen the team, especially the teams we've seen today, I haven't seen that be an advantage that overrides the risk of leaving it soft. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess we'll have to watch to see if they do go back there. Instead, MIBR have decided to go back up to the top floor. They're bringing some, is this the exact same lineup that they had before? They had the Echo, they had the Mirror. Well, I mean, let's hope that they're doing something a bit different. Black Dragons are opted to bring a Lion this time. I'm very interested to see how the pressure of the E1Ds is going to affect MIBR, because Black Dragons didn't need that back on round number 1 in order to overwhelm the setup that MIBR had across the top floor. So with it added onto what they're already bringing, I fear that it's just going to be too much for MIBR, especially if they are just simply being held in position for fear of getting caught in its intel gathering.
And that's the thing, anything that can assist Black Dragons here into getting a quicker and more aggressive approach and take, they're going to probably try and use it. E1D scan is going to come out, but it doesn't result in anything just yet. Still, it applies that pressure, it lets MIBR know that it is there. And you've always got the fear of a second and third scan coming in. The second scan is going to come in right about now, as there is going to be information this time for Ion to try and work with. Toxie getting on the drone, trying to further assist. 2 players from MIBR in the wine cellar. Could be in a position to try and rotate through. This wall left entirely soft. Giving away access in onto the site, apparently.
Yeah, it's that's a question mark. That's an interesting one. They have the wall that's perpendicular to it has been reinforced. But still, gaining control of office is usually quite a big deal if you want to be accessing this site. The Yokai drone down below the desk didn't actually quite find anything, and instead Live is going to find Falls and Luke it as well. A couple kills come back in return, but it takes barely any time for Black Dragons to finally finish up the kills onto MIBR. One of which was with a Claymore, by the way, but I don't think it really matters because Black Dragons, they take their 3rd round.
Black Dragons looking pretty unstoppable here on the attack, and this could be one of the reasons why we have seen them sort of hide away this map, and maybe it's somewhere that they've been putting a lot of work in. I think that they've certainly prepared and countered against things that we saw MIBR doing yesterday. I think, you know, just initially something that springs to mind is MIBR aren't able to really start to keep control of any areas. Typically, if that's something MIBR want to try and do, they're going to bring a Clash in order to assist that. With Clash being banned, it makes things a bit more difficult. With the aggressive nature of Black Dragons and the way that they are really cutting this map in half, with a lot of these rotations and flank watches, and of course the pressure that the E1D provides, quite often that is all it takes, and the end of the round is usually a bit of a formality at this moment in time for Black Dragons, just to clean up the final couple of kills. They're never really seeming too pressured. You only really got to look at the amount of kills that are on the side of MIBR to see that 5 kills inside of 4 rounds is not ideal.
They've only showed us 2 sites so far as well.
Yeah, it's probably time to mix things up, right?
I mean, there's obviously pros and cons to each side of it, but I always get this instant feeling whenever a team gets this deep into a game, and I've only shown 2 sites, my instant feeling is, oh, they don't feel comfortable elsewhere. They don't have anywhere else to show. Their strategies aren't deep enough. And that's concerning because, I mean, Black Dragons are going to be feeling that as well. If Black Dragons keep winning these 2 sites backwards and forwards, they don't really need to worry about what's going to happen. Falls, you moved at the wrong time and now you're going to get caught out. That was really unfortunate.
I mean, that is just partly bad siege timing and partly really good aggression from the side of Black Dragons. We've not even seen a full minute and they've managed to pick up 3 kills. They've only received a little bit of damage in return. Reduct and Raps, so much work to do. Live, he's going to be planting and Diffuser, and he's going to make it even more difficult. Flip the clock onto these 2 defenders. Raps pushes on in and finds a kill, but is it going to be enough? Reduct joins him as well. Patoxy, though, still on that overwatch. He's going to be able to take down Reduct as Raps is going to rotate his way back upstairs, knowing that there is vertical control and knowing that there are attackers that can just take him on out if he strolls into sight. Perez is going to find that final frag. I mean, that didn't even look like a contest for Black Dragons. They just walked in and did what they liked.
I was about to say something very similar. I was going to say MIBR don't look like a team right now.
Oh, that's even worse.
It's not that they're not working as a team. They just don't, like... Look, yesterday we were spoiled a bit because when they got their win, it was a 7-2 victory. One of the things we said was this reminds us of the MIBR that we know. The MIBR that we saw do so well at SI. The MIBR who was near the top of the leaderboard back in stage 1. The MIBR who came up from Team 1 after last year to fill the hole that was left after the former MIBR went forward into FaZe Clan. And we spoke so much about how they were living up to the name of MIBR that had been left with such high regard after what is now FaZe Clan won the BR6 last year. That was the MIBR that we saw a piece of yesterday, and that we could look at and we could say, yeah, in spite of the fact that Felipox has found himself injured, and in spite of the difficulties they've had to face, MIBR still exist in there somewhere. And we get here today, and I can't see them anymore.
It looks like a different team. It really does. And they're going to be a little bit downtrodden, I think, after those first 4 rounds going in Black Dragon's favor, and it seems to have almost gotten worse as the rounds have gone on. Like, that was by far the most decisive round we've seen so far. Black Dragons pretty much getting the job done inside of the first minute. So, certainly a tough one. Certainly one that MIBR are going to want to try and shake off and approach the remainder of this game with a bit of a fresher mindset. See if they can start to try and change their fortune here. By no means is it said and done. There's still a job to do from Black Dragons to close this game out, and there's still opportunity for MIBR to step themselves up. We haven't seen them contest in a very meaningful way just yet. The opening engagement is something that Black Dragons have pretty much got down to a T here. Fowls is being very patient, waiting for somebody to hop in through that trophy window. It's actually going to be upstairs in bathroom where the first couple of engagements take place, though. Patoxy, he's going to be able to shut down Felipox. As Perezin, look at him go. People are just throwing bodies at him right now, and he's just holding down Mouse 1. Look at him, Fowls. Fowls could make himself a little bit of a rotate here to get himself out of dodge. And he will do just that. Gets himself into sight, but immediately crossfires are being held. Lukid, he's got so much to do. Finds it down onto Ion. Removes the drone for a time. If he wins this engagement, he might have a chance, but no, Patoxy just trundles along on the Lion. Slow as you like, finishing that final kill. Lukid not really in too much of a position to do all too much. This could be a very quick chalet.
It's like the chaos that ensued on the top floor. MIBR didn't know which way to look. They didn't know which way to turn. They didn't know which way to expect enemies to be coming from. There was one kill taken by MIBR up there, and then they just walked, whether it be into the bathroom door without looking, without thinking Perez might be on the other side, whether it was Raps walking past the soft wall of closet, like right as someone's coming in. They looked frantic. They looked frenzied. It was just bizarre. It feels like there is this undercurrent of panic that is lapping at their ankles right now, and it's starting to get higher and higher. And they don't want to drown in that because they will not make it to the Cobra Elite 6.
Well, that's the reality, isn't it? That's the reality of this game, is that it isn't going to be an easy one for Black Dragons to, for MIBR to swallow and to get over, because it really means that they ain't going to be getting themselves into Copa. And especially after yesterday and the performance that they put in, I think we were expecting them to challenge a little bit more heavily for this match. And Black Dragons are seemingly just taking it for free at the moment. We need to see a little bit of bite, a little bit of something. I was expecting some of the rounds here to go in MIBR's favour. I was expecting them to have that advantage of being able to defend and, you know, really run down the clock, but that just hasn't been the case at all. Black Dragons have set the pace from start to finish.
Back to Master for the 3rd time. Droning coming in from Black Dragons. They don't usually spend tons of time droning, so they just take what they need and they work on that. was the first E1D as well. Felipox just walked straight in front. I'm not going to give him too much flack for that, just given his current situation. And actually, in fact, you know, MIBR do avenge the kill, and they're currently sitting on the man advantage, which is a good start.
I think it's the first time in a long time we've seen MIBR have an advantage inside of this game, even if it is just a man count for a round. They've got a chance here to start burning a little bit of time, especially with Resets' position. He does find a little bit of damage there as well. The Toxic Babe canister, he's only going to need a whiff of that and he's going to be out of action. Diffuser at the top of the Solarium stairs. MIBR now just dipping themselves off. Needs to be certain that that gas has dissipated before he moves on through, as he really is just one shot here. Still a chance for Black Dragons, but honestly, MIBR, this one really ought to be one they get in the bag.
Listen, in Siege, you're always one shot away from death.
Yeah, but you don't want to. You're not always one Toxic Babe canister breath away from death, are you? Like this guy is literally one shot. Like, he gets hit by a stun grenade and he's going down. Like, obviously that isn't going to happen because he's on the attack, but still, the final kill comes in there. Luke Kidd, elevated angle, little bit of intel. MIBR not taking any chances with that one. They finally net themselves around and avoid what could have been a very embarrassing first half.
But they have got a really big uphill to climb if they are to bring this back to evening it out and potentially getting a win. You know, the best option that they have for a win now is a 7-5. They would have to win every single round from here on out. Otherwise, if they let just one go, the best they can do is overtime. If they let two go, then that's it. It's over. And that would be a 7-1 at this point, which would be, you know, it would hurt for them to not make it into Copa. But I think losing Copa because of a 7-1 loss, oh, that really would hurt. That would be very painful. Now, Black Dragons gonna be going down into the basement. And yesterday I had a lot to say about basement defenses on Chalet. Professionally, we have not seen tons of wins when a team chooses to defend the basement. And this again is where we kind of look at the fact that Black Dragons don't really have any experience on this map. Is this something that they have very specifically got planned? Because the problem that you have here is that given the lack of coordination that we're seeing from MIBR so far in this game, how much leeway can we give Black Dragons in terms of messiness or inexperience on their own defenses that we can still say they would be the expected team to win? That's the thing that makes judging this scenario actually quite difficult, because for a lot of teams, going down to the basement is a huge risk. And if you're going up against just your average team who is doing pretty well, they've been taking some attacking rounds, they're not having problems, it's quite feasible to imagine that you would lose that defense. But given this very specific situation, I actually don't know if MIBR have been playing well enough for me to be that concerned about it.
It's always going to be the concern, isn't it, that MIBR aren't going to be able to sort of hang at that level. They've certainly not hung at that level today in this game, regardless of what they were able to achieve yesterday. Today is a new day, and you've got to treat it as such. E1D scan going to come through. And Patoxy able to avoid it for a time. Just going to nick out on one of the drones. There's a nice Valkyrie camera outside. It's not really providing anything to peek from, but it's going to give a little bit of intel as to at least where a bit of the push is going to start from. Opening kill here going in favor of Black Dragons. Sorry, going in favor of MIBR. Black Dragons actually falling. They're going to lose live out there on the roam. Not an ideal start, but not the end of the world. You've lost the mute. It really isn't going to change all too much. Mute often used on the roam now, and those mute jammers applied all over the map to assist that roam game. The site is still going to be fairly untouched, as now MIBR have to turn their attention. And so far, the push is coming through a little bit strange. They've gone for a lot of vertical control. They've got the hatch open, and now they're looking to move in through trench.
Rez is ready, just in case someone decides to peek on through. Of course, it's going to be the reinforced walls that are the primary focus for MIBR. Try and hold the angles through here. Resets is in a very aggressive position here to try and hold around the pillar and doesn't actually quite land the shot he was looking for. That was a Gemini that just made its way in that got ignored, but Perez finally rids Black Dragons of the burden.
Reset has got that long angle now. He can try and make something work with it. Felipox being down as well isn't ideal. That Capital utility would have been very nice here, especially when the kills start to come through. Oh, Black Dragons line them up and they will knock them down. Storming their way through that basement defense. Not really coming up against all too many obstacles at all. Already, they've got themselves onto a match point and they've got all of the good sites left on Chalet to pick from to go.
Oh my god. And I mean, look, most teams, by the time they make a rotation down to trench, you've maybe got 3 players who are remaining in wine or in snow, because oftentimes you'll find a roam will have been, exhibited by the defending team. Maybe a couple of players picked off and then they all return back to the site. And you've got about 3 on the site. Okay. So then you've maybe got however many attackers who are looking to push in through trench. It's not usually a full team. It's very, very rarely 5 players. But regardless, oftentimes that is sufficient pressure from the attacking team to actually break through into the site, especially when you consider how big the basement is. And if you are sharing the responsibility of defending it between 3 different players, much of the utility would have been removed by then. That becomes very, very difficult to defend. Now, in this scenario, we had a few players who were on the site, but an entire attacking team looking to come in through trench. 5 players on the attack could not provide a sufficient pressure to break into a site that is usually a given for an attacking team.
Yeah, the cracks run fairly deep from what we are seeing here today. It is a shame to see as well, you know. MIBR, they're just unrecognizable from yesterday. But they still have an opportunity. They aren't out of this just yet, although it really does feel like it at this point. Got to attack downstairs into the bar. Can we start to see a little bit of that coordination start to creep on through, or will the momentum that Black Dragons have gained up to this point just be a little bit too much? You look at the side and you look at the performance that a couple of these guys are putting in. Only Live has died more than 2 times. Ion, Perez, Resets, 7 kills apiece. 21-6 collectively. Patoxy, 9-2. These guys are winning every single gunfight. I think it shows how hungry this team is and how much they want to have an opportunity to prove themselves at a higher level. And they may just get that. They're not too far away. They're about half the round off that.
Perez holding onto the bathroom, but he's not going to be overstepping anything. Lukid is probably doomed here. Yeah, he's doomed. I didn't see anyone being able to pick him up, and he was so low down. So already, loss for MIBR. This is their last opportunity. We are on match point. Another for Perez. Just playing it patiently. This is the thing with Perez and Resets, is we talk about how aggressive they are, but they are really managed in it. Resets, however, does get taken down by Felipox, but it still leaves Black Dragons with the advantage, as MIBR have just 3 men alive.
Felipox going to be on the big window repel. He has a chance to get himself upside down and try and hold something there, but immediately looks like he's going to hit that rotation. Redux is just waiting for the call to make his way on through as well. Fouls on that Solarium repel. MIBR are currently waiting for Felipox to change position, I believe. No one else is really doing all too much. Redux, he's actually going to push his way through. We'll find Perez. Patoxy trades back out. Redux now pushing through the bathroom live. He's going to be there in position to take that engagement. Final couple of kills go in Black Dragon's favor. What a performance from those guys. We didn't know what to expect coming on to Chalet. Black Dragons haven't played it a lot, but they've certainly stamped down their authority here tonight, taking the win 7-1 against MIBR.
That was an absolute decimation of MIBR, and that was for all the MIBR fans out